Today's episode is sponsored by our good friends at Famous Faces and Funnies, located in Melbourne, Florida. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as our online Facebook auctions, as well as Docking Bay 94, located in Boca Raton, Florida. Check us out on comicsandgames.com. And Ian's Display Accessory, the best figure stands for your iconic Kenner Star Wars, Hasbro G.I. Joe, as well as modern Black Series and G.I. Joe Classifieds. And EGS Expert Grading Services, the Gen X place to get your comics graded and encased, shipping nationwide. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Codename New to Vero 2. Hi, I'm your presenter, Shabu Are You. Well, I'm back from my trip to Philadelphia, and the exciting thing is, upon arrival, I had a box from PGX Grading ready for me. So I thought it would be a good idea, since we've been doing this, taking a little break for our monthly G.I. Joe recaps, to feature the books that I got graded. And again, if you are new to this channel, I have been supporting EGS and PGX grading services over CGC, just because I'm not a fan as a data analyst by profession. I'm not a fan of monopolizing, and I just feel that one company, it's not very healthy to support one company in this growing and important industry. So without further ado, let's take a look at what I got back. So last month I talked about getting the sensational She-Hulk #1 graded and how I'm a big fan of this line, but there's also more to it. The fact that I think getting a little bit of a jump in specking for She-Hulk is actually advantageous. Her #1, the first time her series was launched, those have been climbing up like crazy, and with the news of a She-Hulk series eventually coming to Disney Plus has, got a lot of intrigue. And I'm a fan of She-Hulk. I always liked her. I think she's a great character. And I think that now you got to think of it from like a movie writing standpoint. I think you could do a lot more with She-Hulk going forward in the MCU than you could with the Hulk. I mean, Mark Ruffalo, the actor himself, and then he might not sign for low money. He might sign for a crazy amount. Who knows? But I feel that Disney can do more with the She-Hulk character down the road than they can with the Hulk. So because of that, we got the iconic Hulk cover, and this is Hulk 282. Now, we all know what 181 is doing, but 282 is no slouch. So I was able to get this and pick it up and got it sent over to PGX. I got a 9.0. Again, I'm still not doing clean and pressing, but that's going to change, because if you've been following me on Facebook and Instagram, I finally landed a holy grail to me, G.I. Joe issue number 21. And it is a newsstand variant, so I'd ask PGX, hey, please clean and press. So we'll get to see that in an upcoming episode. So the next one, again, piggybacking off of last month's EGS opening, and that is, the McFarlane cover I got graded and sent back of 328, the iconic one with the Incredible Hulk and SpiderMan. Love this cover, and there's history behind this. So it's like I've been picking up a theme of picking up the lesser McFarlane covers. I just think that maybe that's what's popular with these modern kids, is that they think McFarlane is the end all be all. I mean, of course, our Gen X grew up with Herb Trimpe and so many other Perez and so many other artists, Ramita Jr., Ramita Sr. So anyway, I've been picking up a lot of lesser McFarlanes, and this is another iconic cover featuring Captain America, 323. So again, if you saw, I saw one with the Incredible Hulk. This one is with Captain America. I think the the other characters, or the chance to draw other leads covers for McFarlane, are something to kind of spec about. I think those are going to start to come into demand from our Gen X point of view. Like, this was the tail end of a lot of our time in comics, so this is another iconic cover. Seeing McFarlane draw Captain America along with Spider-Man, I think this is a home run, and it came in at a 7. I think if it got clean and pressed, now I'm realizing it'll probably jump it to a 9. But regardless, it looks beautiful. This is something I'm really happy to have. Oh, I was going to turn it off, but hey, there's another one. Again, another lesson at 321. Amazing Spider-Man, McFarlane, and drawing Silver Sable at the same time. I think this is another great cover. Just adds to his legacy. And I've always been, like I've said, is intrigued on how he drew other not Spider-Man, but other characters along with Spider-Man at the same time. So this is another cover that I'm very excited about getting sent back to me. 8.5, it definitely could live with that. It's not it looks beautiful. I think it should go higher, but okay. Now the next one is something dear to me. Like I featured on this channel several times, I still have a lot of my original comics. So again, I remember riding my bicycle and picking up this issue because, at this time Spider-Man pretty much stopped wearing the black costume. So when they reprinted this iconic issue of 265, the first appearance of Silver Sable, the first print is up there, and believe it or not, the second print is actually starting to climb up there as well. Again, it featured the gray back that Marvel used to do in the 90s. If you saw, I did the Carnage, I think 362, the second appearance of Carnage. I featured that earlier. That also has this gray back as the second indication that it's a second print, and I like the gray backs. I think they're often overlooked because now we're just so used to second prints and third prints and multiple variant covers. The fact that at that time, that's what they used to indicate that it's a second print, and I think that is a treasure in itself. I think the theme, because you got to remember, when you send these books like a couple weeks back, you kind of sometimes forget what you sent. So it just seems like what I got back was the Spider-Man edition. So continuing with that theme, so to speak, we're going to bring out Spider-Woman #1 from 1978. Again, this book has been slowly climbing up there on the charts. We still don't know what the hell's going on with Spider-Man. There's been talks that Spider-Woman may be part of Sony's Spider-Verse. So what they do with Jessica Drew is, who is my favorite, her and She-Hulk are up there. I've always loved Spider-Woman and her costume. I think that it's wonderful. It's just iconic in its own right. And it's cool because Disney Plus has those cheesy Spider-Woman cartoons that they had for that one season. I think it was 79 or 80, but it's not really good, but you do back then you would just anything that Marvel cartoon, Spider-Man, His Amazing Friends, superpowers, Super Friends, whatever. That's what it was for us back in the day. And we literally it's just like getting samples and scraps, but they're so loved and cherished. But again, I am so glad to get this. I got a 5.5, and I know this book did not get cleaned and pressed as well. And I think that, I don't know if it's worth it. I sometimes I don't mind these grades because they're like a badge of honor. Like, this book got this. It lived a normal life with the collector, and this is what it got. To me, that means something, you know, as someone that grew up with this wonderful hobby, seeing a 5.5, like, oh man, that's a legitimate 5.5. Whether if I sent this cleaned and pressed and it got something maybe like a 7 or 8, I'd be like, that's a cleaned and pressed Spider Woman #1. The fact that this lived a healthy life as what it should be doing is in a collector's collection. I think it's a badge of honor, man. So I'm just not I'm not on board with this 9 point. I mean, I understand, you know, you have to put a numerical system, and you know, yes, 9.8 is better than 5.5, but at the same time, like, you know, a buyer should know that what is good and what isn't good. All right. So let's continue with that Spider-Man with another iconic cover. Last time I think I did Spider-Man #1, the Todd McFarlane classic cover. So here's another #1 that has been skyrocketing lately. And even though many people had like 5 or 6 of these, probably about 10 years ago, the newsstand variant is going through the roof, and these are now becoming sought after with the Venom Let There Be Carnage movie coming out. The first solo cover of his solo title for the character known as Venom. And I think it's kind of interesting that Mark Bagley wasn't a huge fan of Venom. I mean, they must have just shoved. I could see like it's someone working at Burger King and, like, you know, they hate hamburgers or fast food. It's like you're being stuck to, you know, shoving it down your throat that you get resistance to it. So the fact that he's not too keen on Venom is understandable, but you gotta admit, back in that time, they milked that pony, like, you know, they just bombarded to the point where people got burned out for Venom for quite a bit. I mean, there was like 10 years where people were just sick of that character because he was just so played out. The next book is another book that's really special to me. I had this book as a kid. I remember riding to Comic Relief in Delran, New Jersey, but I don't know what the hell happened to this issue. And that is the 90s Ghost Rider, Ghost Rider #1. And again, a lot of things around Ghost Rider have been just peaking. We got, I guess, Ghost Rider #2 along with #1. Those have been going through the roof, and you know, this is the new introduction of the new Ghost Rider. Remember, Johnny Blaze has gone on to other things at this point, so a new Ghost Rider was anointed. And again, this is a iconic cover, and I think Gem Min and Comic Time 101 talked about a new series of, you know, Silver Age, Golden Age, Modern Age. These 90s books should not be considered Modern Age whatsoever. You know, maybe a Renaissance Age. I think that should be the name before 1990 to maybe 2001 or 2. I think they should call it the Renaissance Age instead of Modern Age. So anyway, this is Ghost Rider #1. This is a regular first print direct edition, but again, that UPC barcode down here adds a couple decimal points, so I would highly recommend, if you're able to, find a newsstand. If not, this is a great cover. This is going to go up on the wall. Ghost Rider was one of my favorite. I liked the fact that, you know, he was just like not, you know, good, and that dichotomy of good and bad. I always love that because it's real world shit there, you know. Everyone has a little bit of good and bad in them, and it's a constant struggle to like fight who's going to win out in that battle internally. So the fact that you have a character based on that notion versus being black or white, you know, one good versus evil, I think was excellent. So I always gravitated to characters like Ghost Rider, and plus he rode a motorcycle, and was a badass. I think this is a great one to have. So Ghost Rider #1. Now the next one is you're hitting 3 giants in a row. That's why I picked this book up. And you're hitting Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and John Romita Sr. all in one package. And to me, even though that was before my time, but being a Gen Xer, you still had a affinity for those individuals because of how much they were still present and how much they have contributed before you. So we're talking about the Fantastic Four #102 with Namor coming in, and again with anything involving Namor has been I've noticed has been peaking off the charts, and this one this might be a issue down the road with significant meaning. Maybe this is how they introduce the Fantastic Four and Namor into this MCU. And this was when Namor was giving the Fantastic Four a lot of trouble, and I just think this would be a great way. This story itself, would be a great way to introduce both characters into the MCU. So I'm highly specking on this particular issue, and I think that it's going to be one of those that, hasn't hit its peak yet, and it is about to explode, basically with the impact it'll have in the future. And plus, again, Magneto's also in this. So you're hitting how many tropes for this to be a sought after issue? Magneto coming in, Namor, and the Fantastic Four, and of course the fact that the Titans, all of them worked on this together at one point. This is, to me, is a phenomenal pickup, and to get it at a 6.5. Remember, this is not cleaned and pressed, so this is an honest 6.5. So that it spent its life properly with the collector is something that is a badge of honor, and this is a well-earned, very happy 6.5. Well, again, that's for this month's PGX recap. We're going to still look forward to our EGS unboxing when I get the books back from EGS Expert Grading Services. And again, if you are new, thank you, and I hope you hit the subscribe button. This channel is basically catered to fellow Gen Xers, and we mostly cover G.I. Joe or Gen X related material, but because I covered the G.I. Joe comics, I found it taken upon me to be informative, as we all know that along with a lot of things, the comics that we grew up with in the 80s and 90s no longer exist in this new modern comic world. It's a totally different ball game. And I've been really fascinated to learn so much about it. It's been a great journey so far. I've got to meet a lot of people outside of the G.I. Joe community, people in the comic community that are like, hey, that give me the proper respect. I would say that I'm very humbled by that. I mean, you got an OG coming back and having the young kids teach him stuff, and I think that my personality of being warm and receptive and not being one of those, hey, back in my day, but I think that's the right way to approach this. And I've been primarily featuring EGS and PGX Expert Grading Services, not so much CGC anymore, because I just feel like they're just getting too big, and they're being placed on a pedestal that could be detrimental to the overall health of the comic industry in the long term. So thank you for following, and we'll see you in the next episode where we go back into recapping some comics. And I think I'm working on the Larry Hama Iron Fist run, which is 1 through 5. And old and new, new guys, you need to read this series to see how a professional lays out a comic and how a comic is supposed to flow. This is when I do that episode, it is a masterclass and conducted by none other than Larry Hama on how to write a comic book. And I think a lot of these modern comic writers, even industry like Marvel and DC, need to pay attention to how it's done in the Larry Hama Iron Fist series. So again, without further ado, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.